And for more, we're joined from Ankara, the Turkish capital, by Ömer Özkızılçık, a foreign policy and security analyst. And Ömer, what's your assessment? Are we going to see some kind of ground operation, maybe a major one, by Turkish forces across the border into Syria, maybe Iraq, against the Kurdish forces there?
So we have to say that the ground operation is ongoing already in northern Iraq since the beginning of this year, and the Turkish armed force have almost completed their operational goal in northern Iraq to clean the Zab region. But when it comes to Syria, the offspring of the PKK, the YPG-dominated Syrian Democratic Force, are now in a different situation. 6 months ago, when Turkey wanted to launch a military operation on the ground, Russia was preventing it, and Russia was pointing towards the Assad regime in Damascus. But now the situation is different, and we know from the past experience, from the period between 2015 and 2017, and that the best way to ensure safety and security inside Turkey from terror attacks is to launch cross-border military operation and to annihilate terrorists in the area where they feel safe. So by doing this, since 2018, we did not have any real major terror attack inside Turkey for years, and the Turks were hit when they felt the most safe. So in order to ensure the safety and security of Turkish citizens, a new cross-border operation seems necessary. And we also see that the YPG resorted back to cross-border shelling and attacked Turkish civilians inside Turkish territory. They killed Syrians inside Syria. Only today, they bombed a residential area. So a new cross-border operation seems imminent, but I would not bet on a full-scale, large, across the entire border operation, but an operation with a limited territorial target.
Is it perhaps only a part of Turkey's thinking that Russia is somewhat distracted these days? And we know that they've drawn down their forces and strength somewhat in Syria, and maybe now that's less of a deterrence for President Erdogan than it might have been a few years ago even.
I think the Turks are reading quite well the geopolitical realities of the region, and we have also underlined that Turkey has from the very beginning supported Ukraine, because it's in the geopolitical interest of Turkey that Ukraine maintains its territorial integrity. And with Russia occupied, with the Ukrainian invasion, and with its almost defeat in this place and its huge causalities, I think the balance of power has changed. And we have seen this in the recent period with the grain corridor, when Russia withdrew from it. Turkey continued without Russia, and so the Russians had to come back into the process. So it's no longer the same balance of power between Russia and Turkey. And I think this is something the Turkish or the decision makers know, and this is also something they will keep in mind while before launching a new military operation, which I think is likely, but it will maybe not happen today, tomorrow, but over the coming days, I assume.
Right, and we have to know there is an election coming up in Turkey. Could there be some political considerations involved here for President Erdogan?
So if there was a political consideration, I would expect the Turkish government not to try to launch a military operation 6 months ago, a year and 2 months ago, because when the Turkish armed force tried to launch a military operation in Syria in 2021, it was the cooperation between the Americans and the Russians, in which the Americans opened the airspace over eastern Syria for the Russian Air Force, that prevented a new Turkish-Syrian cross-border military operation into Syria. And 6 months ago or 7 months ago, the Russians again prevented it. So I do not think that this is related to the elections primarily or secondarily, but I think this is a need of Turkish security. And we also have the Turkish opposition parties who also support to eradicate the terrorism threat from the south of Turkey. And I would not think that this is something related to the elections. Last but not least, the terror attack, which started all of this escalation we see at the moment, was launched by the PKK itself, because it is under huge pressure in northern Iraq, where its main origin is and main bases are.
All right, well, we'll have to see how this develops. But as you said, it certainly looks like there is something coming, some military action coming there in northern Syria. Ömer Özkızılçık, thank you for that.